Hey everybody, welcome back to the 6th round post-fight show with me, Zane Simon, and my co-hosts, as always, Eddie Mercado. Damn it.
Hey.
Ah. You you gave me the time to mute you, and I still couldn't get there fast enough. Alright. Yeah, we're coming to y'all just from the close of UFC 313 at the T-Mobile Arena in Las Vegas, Nevada. And what looked to be a fine, not great pay-per-view on paper turned out to be not a great pay-per-view in reality.
I think it was designed to be just a card full of barn burners. And we did get some really cool moments.
Yeah.
Like Ruffy, that fucking wheel kick, knockout of the year already. He's going to be in the running for that. I enjoyed it. I will say I wasn't able to order the pay-per-view. I tried my best. I try playing by the rules. I try to, invest in the sport that I love so much and buy the pay-per-views. But I kept getting this error that said, it's unavailable or some stupid shit like that.
Yeah, a lot of people were getting that.
Tried over and over. So, I had to do what I had to do. And definitely did not illegally stream it.
No.
Definitely did not do that.
No. There are not many fine options for that out on the internet still, despite Dana White's war on streamers that he takes up once every 5 years and claims they got the guy, and then you never hear about it again for 5 more years.
Yeah, so I guess not having to pay for it. There was a lot of things I did like. One thing I really didn't like, the Limoges fight, I could have done without.
Yeah, I mean, like, I get the booking. It didn't look like a bad booking on paper. It didn't, and it's a former title contender against a rising prospect that they expect to be a future contender. I even get why you want it on pay-per-view. You're expecting Lucindo to win. You want to pump her up and get her stock out in front of people, get people seeing her. Makes sense. But the thing I was saying this going into that fight this week is just like Lucindo scraped by a somewhat washed-looking Marina Rodriguez in her last fight. She's not ready for an actual step up. Like, Amanda Lemos is strong enough and fast enough to just shut down her game, which is still almost entirely based on her athleticism.
But what I was shocked though, because, well, for one, I picked Limoges.
Yeah.
But for two, I felt like she was going to piece her up on the feet and really hit her with some hard shots. That's what I was expecting. I wasn't expecting the NCAA All-American Limoges to get the takedowns and just keep her there.
Well, that's the thing, too, with Lucindo's game is that it's very much a swing and cling game because it's all speed-based. She views, and she's not a great wrestler, she views the clinch as her safety valve of like, oh, I'm fast enough and strong enough. I can just get you into the clinch and muscle you. And it's like, yeah, but Limoges is like the one fighter in that division. You're not going to do that too.
Yeah.
She's the big, strong, like alpha athlete in that division.
Yeah.
And once that dynamic got set, it's just like, we're in for a bad fight.
Yeah, no, it was terrible. But other than that, was the only real horrible fight on the main card. I felt like there was something for me in all of the other ones, so I'm not too down about it. I didn't think it was horrible.
It wasn't horrible. It just ended on kind of not a great note for your big title fight. And no, let me put it this way: nobody wants to watch Alex Pereira in a bad losing fight where he doesn't get anything done,
Yeah. No, I feel that. I still enjoyed the fight for the most part.
Because you made a bunch of money on it.
Not just because of that. I appreciate how high level it was. I appreciate how much Ankalaev was true to his word and stood with Alex and did well, had success, pressured him, he made him uncomfortable. And I hated he almost went Mario Bautista, but I think he was working in the clinch. It's not like he was just holding. He was trying
I
to make
mean,
things
I
happen.
don't think he was working way harder than Mario Batista, but I'm gonna let you have your your haterade moment there. I will say I don't think Ankalaev won that fight. I
No, I
don't.
scored it for Pereira.
Yeah, I scored it for Pereira too.
1, 3, and 5. I gave to
Yeah.
Pereira.
Mm-hmm.
A little upset, not upset, but and not surprised, but I definitely feel like Pereira won. I'm not so sure he did more damage overall. He was rocked there in the second round.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
he did chew up that leg, that lead southpaw leg of Ankalaev. I
It's
don't
not
know.
a robbery.
What's that?
It's not a robbery.
No,
It was
no.
an ultra close competitive fight. If it all came down to round 5, Pereira had some good success, and then Ankalaev stuck him on the cage, worked him over with some knees, made the fight ugly, and
Honestly, I thought Ankalaev blew it there in the 5th.
I did too.
I was like, dude, you're losing this fight. You
Yeah.
you have to win this round. And you're clinching. Like, you need to make something happen. So I was really in my head expecting Pereira to get the decision. I thought Ankalaev blew it, but turns out he didn't. He's the new champion. Pereira fought cautious.
Hey, if there's an upside to Alex Pereira losing this, kind of poor decision in a kind of boring fight, it's that it pissed Dana White off really bad.
Oh yeah, that insta rematch.
Yeah,
insta rematch.
He might actually just strip Ankalaev tomorrow. He'd be like, "Oh, it turns out Ankalaev got really hurt in that fight, and he can't fight again for 3 weeks. We're gonna have a new title fight. Sorry."
1 round and maybe a minute and a half of clinching I can deal with.
Mm-hmm.
He stood the rest of the time. That was way more than I expected. Shout out to the takedown defense of Pereira.
Yeah.
Anyone who's down that can shut the fuck up. They can shut the fuck up, and they can shut the fuck up. He stuffed every single takedown. Every single one of them.
He did great. And, honestly, too, Ankalaev, he found a lot of moments where he did what he needed to do, which was get in the pocket and punch with Pereira and pressure him and not stand out at kicking range and just kind of look at him and try to match his range game. He did that. Immediately that's what he did in round 1, and we're all, everybody out there just going like, "Oh my god, what are you thinking? You are just going to go out there and try to outkick Alex Pereira from distance? That's a terrible plan."
But it's the preferred plan from a fan's perspective. Like, I want to see you stand with this guy.
Yeah.
Like, I appreciate it.
But I did like that he adjusted, and in round 2, he started going forward and getting in the pocket, getting in tight. I think one of the big things that he did really well against Pereira in this fight was that he would jab with Pereira every time Pereira tried to get his lead hand going. And he, his corner talked about him being faster than Pereira, and it's questionable all that, but I think he probably actually did have a faster lead hand than Pereira.
I think his footwork was faster too.
And his footwork is faster, and being able and willing to jab with Pereira every time Pereira threw his lead hand, he basically took Pereira's lead hand out of the fight. Like, we did not see any of the reactive left hook counters from Pereira. We did not see any of the jab game that he established on Izzy in a similar southpaw matchup. Like, Ankalaev did a really good job of taking that out and making this all about Pereira's kicking game against Ankalaev, and then Ankalaev against Ankalaev's clinch game.
When you have a southpaw versus orthodox matchup, the jab kind of isn't there. It's not it's really hard to get your jab going. It's way more of a power hand game. The power hand is open.
Pereira throw the jab and the lead hand a lot in other southpaw matchups. So
for sure. I think Ankalaev did a better job of mixing things up, right? He
Yeah.
would kick the leg. He kicked the body a lot. Not many head kick attempts, couple, but he was just more variety. Pereira was dead set on kicking the leg, and he did. He battered it, but he couldn't find the head.
Yeah.
He came really close. There was a moment where they clinched up. I forget what round. It was later in the fight. Ankalaev went for a takedown, and Pereira went for a trip. And I think Ankalaev was like on one knee, and Pereira threw that left hook. And I mean, it was like this close. It was this close.
Yeah. Yeah.
But no, that hand wasn't there though. It wasn't.
No. And without that, it really did, it limited a lot of Pereira's options in this fight. So it's not the result I had. I'm seeing apparently that media scores were mixed 11-9-1 with most scoring for Ankalaev, but that's pretty much just to say that everyone was split across the board.
How do you score a draw in that fight?
I don't know. I don't want to know, honestly. There's probably some weirdo media member out there. I can think of one off the top of my head, but I can't remember his name, who really loves 10-10 rounds and believes there should be more of them. But
no.
Yeah, I don't.
It's a rarity. It should be a rarity. I'm not saying they shouldn't exist, but your job's to judge. You got to kind of pick.
Yeah. Anyway, I'm not gonna make any great shakes about the score being what it was. Ankalaev is champ. The UFC is going to try to get that belt off of him as fast as possible. And
Dana White too, yeah.
Yep.
Dana White, he's not gonna. But I don't. Honestly, I think this is probably one of the more exciting fights that Magomed has been in lately.
Well, yeah. I mean, Alex Pereira is a dude who doesn't have boring fights. So this is the most boring fight that Pereira's been in lately. And it's the most exciting fight Ankalaev has been in lately.
Yeah. Wow. What a sad dichotomy that is. But yeah, I mean, I'm down to watch it again. I'm down for the rematch. Immediate rematch too. I don't see any reason not to. Unless like the John Jones thing is going to happen.
Yeah, it doesn't. I think
no.
I think without the belt around Pereira's waist, I mean, that might make the UFC more willing to do it, but that probably also makes John Jones less interested in it. I don't know.
I don't think so, because it's not like he'd keep the belt when he moved up.
No, but just, one of those
I think
things.
John wants to fight someone he can beat.
He does. Yeah, he doesn't want to fight Aspinall. There's that. Yeah, otherwise, I mean, there is, because otherwise, too, Yuri Prochazka is coming off that win over Jamal Hill, so he is there as a contender for Ankalaev if the UFC does want to do something else.
Honestly, I'm not excited to see Ankalaev fight anybody else.
No, that's always the thing with Ankalaev. And if it's not a rematch with Pereira and it's not Prochazka, there's not really anybody else at all ready for a title fight. So they've got at least two options. I think they'll probably go with the Pereira rematch. But yeah, it'll probably depend too on the heavyweight situation, where if for some reason they can't make Jones Aspinall, but they can squeeze another fight out of Jones, if that's the only fight they can get out of him, then they'll probably take it.
Yeah, and I think if they do run it back, I think Pereira will probably, I would assume he would be more willing to let his strikes go, seeing how well he did defending the takedowns in this one. I think he might be more I guess less apprehensive.
Yeah.
Because that had to have been plaguing his mind. That was the big narrative going in. The takedown. How's he going to deal with the takedown? And he stuffed them all.
Yeah.
So this was a winnable fight for Pereira. I thought he won. But judges are judges. History will say Ankalaev took it. Fine. Yeah. I mean, I expected him to already be champion, I guess. So
yeah.
He just lost a lot of aura along the way.
That's the thing, is I've been picking this guy to fight for a title since 2014. I've been picking this guy. I picked this guy to win the title going in here. And And all this way, like, this is my best called shot ever, you know? And like, I'm not thrilled about it. I'm just not. I'm like, by the time he got there, it's just like, whatever.
Yeah, no, I feel you. It was
And even
anticlimactic for
they
you.
gave him the mic. You just won the belt. This is your chance to go full. Like, I'm the man. Nobody can touch me. Post fight speech is just like, I don't.
No, he's boring.
He is boring.
He's just a boring dude.
Yep.
Oh well.
All right. That brings us to a lightweight bout. Justin Gaethje, Rafael Fiziev, and damn, this was a good fight.
Hold on. I think so there was a referee separation in this fight, in the Pereira fight.
Yeah.
And that's and that's cool. Love to see it.
Sure.
I think they should make a rule. If you get 3 referee separations in a fight, you should lose a point. I'm dead ass serious. If you're stalling, that's timidity. You're not fighting. Like, if you're stalling out like that, you should get deducted a point.
In spirit, I agree with you.
Should
in practice, not at all.
Or a yellow card or something.
Lose 20% of your purse.
I don't know. Lose half a point. That.
We are not getting into the half point system. Refuse. MMA judging will not be improved by having 20 points to misallocate. They can barely handle 10.
Yeah, but if there's a draw, that half a point means a lot.
Let it be a draw.
I don't know. I'm just saying. If you're stalling out to the point where the referee has to intervene, there should be some penalty for that, other than losing position. Just saying.
I only want to see stalling. I only want to see stalling calls. I mean, I'm fine with separation, but I only want to see timidity calls when both fighters are at range.
Nah.
Yeah.
I don't care where you are. If you're stalling, you're stalling.
All right. That, though, let's talk about an actual good fight and not ways to make a bad fight.
That was a good fight.
It was not a good fight. It was an okay fight.
It was good. It was high level.
It was an okay fight.
Good enough. A good enough of a
In
fight.
the pantheon of title fights in 2025, I will expect it to rank near the bottom.
We've seen worse.
Well, yeah. I mean, we've watched all sorts of shit.
There were some cool moments. Like that fucking calf kick to head kick Pereira did. Yeah, Never in my life have I ever seen that. That was wicked.
There was cool stuff. I'm not saying it was totally bad. I'm just saying it was not great. Let's talk about an actually good fight.
That was a good fight.
Justin Gaethje.
This was a great fight.
Rafael Fiziev. And this fight was awesome. I did not expect I expected it to be good because there's no bad Justin Gaethje or Rafael Fiziev fight. But I kind of expected it to be maybe just a little less than the first one because you got Fiziev coming off a long layoff, off an injury. You've got the short notice. Just kind of all these unideal circumstances.
I don't know. The way I saw it, they both had something to prove.
They did both have something to prove. And goddamn, they fought like it, Fiziev looked so good coming off of this long injury layoff and coming off a couple losses. He looked fantastic.
Improved.
Yeah.
He looked improved. He looked patient. And high FIQ moment. He starts the fight with a fucking takedown. He's hunting takedowns.
Yeah.
Inverted triangle from the mount. That is so brilliant. For two big reasons. Number one, you get your opponent thinking, I have to defend a takedown. Like, this isn't just going to be a brawl. My hands might drop a little bit just so I can down block, so I can be ready to stop the takedown. And two, it stops the leg kicks.
Yeah.
Gaethje didn't really throw any more leg kicks after that
No.
because he didn't want to get taken down. So
That
that
was
fucking brilliant move for Fiziev.
That was the really great shot. Unfortunately for Fiziev, Gaethje is the kind of guy who he doesn't really ever think about getting taken down. You know, like
Sure.
he has not. I mean, you could say it's because he wrestled for a long time in college and all that, but he's just also clearly somebody who has always viewed like my path to win is through damage no matter what. If you take me down, I will find a way to get back into the fight. You know?
Sure.
So
I don't think he's not thinking when he's out there. He's
no, he's not.
He's a dog. Like he is just a dog running off of instincts.
Fiziev, it was a great fight Q move. He started this fight great. And man, it looked like he had the answers. I will even say too, Gaethje, like, man, the first time you guys did this, it took you a round and a half to find your jab, and the moment you did, that was a fight-changing moment. Once again, starts the second fight. That jab did not appear until like into the third round this time, I think. Like he just forgets about his jab in every single fight and has to find it no matter what, every single fight. So,
well, I think that is because he didn't want to be at range. He wanted to be close quarters. He wanted to dirty box.
There's that, but it's just always happens to Gaethje too. He just never, it's never a tool. I think it's just not a natural tool for him. He comes out, he wants to be in the pocket swinging hammers all the time.
And God bless him for it.
Yeah.
You know, I can't knock him at all for that. No. I would much rather him go into the fire and get crazy than be a jab merchant just trying to sit on the outside.
Because, I mean, this is really a fight, too, where, I mean, I think the only reason he won it is just because he could be so much more comfortable right down in the fire than Fiziev. Like, they were both sitting in front of each other, killing each other with shots. And it's just Gaethje. Gaethje's the dude that when he gets a little hurt like that, he's happy to go right back in. And when Fiziev gets a little hurt like that, he's like, oh, shit, well, I better recover. Need to find some time. I need to create a little space. And that's pretty much.
I'm shocked he didn't get finished in the second.
Yeah.
That uppercut was ferocious.
It was.
And it was so beautiful. He pulled him down into it. Brilliant dirty boxing from Gaethje in this fight. And we should also say, you know, Fiziev came in short notice, saved the fight. Hooker got injured with his hand. So he wasn't ready for this fight. You know what I mean? Like, you coming in short notice on Gaethje, his gas tank suffered from it. He gritted it out. So salute to him for stepping up and keeping Gaethje on the card. And Gaethje's chin held up. He ate some fucking shots.
Yeah.
He ate some shots.
No, that was actually something that I will say I was not, maybe shockingly, I was not really all that worried about it. I think a lot of people were worried about it after that Holloway loss.
I was more worried about him being gun shy.
Which is, I
mean,
surprised.
It's small. I pick Gaethje, but like small concern. Small concern.
I could see having some concerns, but to me, like, Gaethje has just, you know, Whitman has changed Gaethje's style over the years. He's tried to make him fight more rangy, be more comfortable from distance, be more of an outfighter, not be such a brawler, that kind of stuff. Getting his eyes fixed helped with that too, because it used to be that he's literally just like braille fighting out there. If he can't touch it, he doesn't know what the hell's going on. But he's never been a fighter to really like reassess and come in and be like, oh, well, I guess I got to approach everything differently now, you know?
Yeah, no, he knows what he dances with the one that brought him every single time.
So I was surprised to see all the lines favoring Fiziev. I was just like, man, coming off a bad knee injury and
short notice.
And
like, the fact that Fiziev was favored in their first fight.
Yeah. And Gaethje, like, you might argue with the decision in the first fight, but it was a fight Gaethje won. Like, we have the evidence to watch. I just didn't, I was surprised by how many people were overlooking Gaethje here. So
It's not that it's not that a lot of people were overlooking Gaethje. Let me bring up my statistics. So oh no, people were.
Yeah.
About 73% of the bets were on Fiziev and 27% were on Gaethje. And for the line to be that close tells me that the 27% bet the same amount of money as the 73% because there's the same amount of money on either line. Mm-hmm. So real bettors bet on Gaethje. Like the real smart money was on Gaethje.
Yeah, but the majority of it was on Fiziev, and I didn't get it going in. I was like, that was one of the big conversations Connor and I had going into this card this week, was just like, a lot of these lines seem bad. You know?
Yeah, but that's good. That's a good thing.
It is. It's good for bettors, yeah.
And I think it could be because UFC 300 was such a big event that a lot of casuals came into it and watched it, and they just watched Gaethje just get fucking manhandled and then put out cold by Max. Yeah. And that was probably the first time they ever saw him fight. So like, oh, that guy's fighting, I'm betting against him.
Yeah.
Could be a lot of that.
Gaethje really, like, he had the same fight with Fiziev and Poirier that he had with Holloway. It's just a styles make fights thing. Like,
Max was on that night too.
Max was on that night, but also, like, if Whitman has been trying to get Gaethje to be a little more reserved and like be more of an outfighter that lures people in to brawl with him rather than just charging in and like going after people. Like, Max Holloway is the last person you want to sit back and be like, okay, you come to me, you bring me the fight, and I'll handle it. You know?
No, for sure.
So,
man, Gaethje threw a fucking head kick from the clinch.
Yeah.
That's so badass. That is so badass. I love it.
It was great.
And you saw Gaethje didn't have the UFC logos on his gloves. Did you notice that?
I did, because apparently they were saying that they were like an old set of gloves and he didn't want new ones.
Well, no, they on the broadcast they said it happened during the warm-up.
Oh, they came off, but he was already used to them?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I know in boxing they used to punch the walls, the cinder block walls before their matches to like thin the padding to get the knuckles. I wonder if he was punching the fucking wall back there.
Could be. It's also
I've never seen it happen from hitting mitts.
I mean, I've seen those UFC stickers come off in a lot of fights, like start to peel off.
In a couple.
I think the UFC is just really cheap with their gloves.
They were scrounging around for the old ones after they tried to switch to the new ones.
Yeah, that after they had to walk that back and it totally. But yeah, then the question becomes, what the hell do you do with Justin Gaethje, man?
Oh, I got it. I have I have two scenarios. One, you go fight Islam Makhachev for the belt. You let Ilia Topuria go fight Dustin Poirier, because that'd be a fucking banger. Or trilogy with Dustin Poirier, because that would also be a fucking banger.
Yeah.
That's it. Nothing else.
Yeah, I mean, you could rebook the Hooker fight, but
nah, he's booked in my mind.
Yeah.
He's fighting Bahamondes.
Oh, okay.
Fair enough.
Yeah, I'd watch that. But yeah, I guess you could, we could do Poirier Gaethje 3.
This one's open to fighting Gaethje. He said he wants to fight Gaethje.
Who, Poirier does?
No. Well, no. Probably, but Makhachev.
Makhachev. Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, because I say the thing with Poirier is that he's so close to, he's very clearly close to wanting to just retire and not fight anymore.
Talking about Poirier?
Yeah, Dustin Poirier.
Yeah.
That, like, you have to wonder if fighting Justin Gaethje again would be something that would lure him out.
I think it would be. It definitely would be.
Since he lost the last one, yeah.
Yeah, it's a trilogy. It's something that would excite him and, get him scared. And I mean that respectfully, in a way that would, he's up grinding. He knows what's up ahead of him. There's the history there, one apiece. But I think him and Topuria should happen.
Gaethje and Topuria?
No.
Poirier and Topuria.
Topuria.
I mean, man, if Ilia Topuria gave up his featherweight title and does not walk into an immediate lightweight title shot, then he has got to be the most foolish MMA fighter of all time.
You keep forgetting this is prize fighting. If you can go and score a big fat payday with Poirier,
the UFC's not going to pay him more to fight Dustin Poirier than they're going to pay him to fight for a lightweight title.
it's probably the same.
Not. I mean, it might be, but then he's still foolish. Like, there's actual contenders.
Not if he wins.
I mean, usually there's contender level pay grades built into the contracts. Like, if you fight for a title, the UFC has to pay you X amount of money.
I don't know. I think so. But he never lost his belt, so he might be on a champion's contract. So like he's gonna get what he gets regardless of who he fights next.
I mean, if I'm the UFC, I would not let somebody give up their title and stay on a champion's contract.
It depends. Like it all depends. Like if you go fight Poirier, like come on. We know what Topuria does. We know what he brings. We know what Poirier brings. That's must see. That is a must see matchup.
Look, I want to see Ilia Topuria in all of these fights, and if he's going to stay at lightweight, he can fight all these fights. But if he walks into the lightweight division and does not walk straight out of one belt and into the chance for another belt, that's just stupid. Like, because if he loses to Dustin Poirier, then suddenly he's just a guy in the top 10 of the lightweight division having to scrap out 2 or 3 wins from title contention. And like you gave up a championship purse and all of the promotion that goes around being a champion, even if even if it's not special, it's still where the UFC puts all their time and energy. And you gave all that up just to go be a guy in another division. He's pretty much the only fighter that's ever done it like this. At least since the classic.
Willfully vacated to go up instead of trying to be a double champ.
Yeah, or instead of holding the belt until he got he walked into the octagon for the other title shot. The last time stuff like this happened would be like when guys were leaving the UFC to go to Pride because Pride was paying so much better, and so you had BJ Penn dropping his belt to go fight.
John Jones did it to go to heavyweight.
He did it after 10 years of holding that light heavyweight title, and clearly just being at a point in his career where he's like, I'm basically going to retire whenever I want, and I'm bored. And any negotiation I have with the UFC is going to be every fight is a negotiation for a contract. It seems to be where John Jones is at.
Rightfully so. He's earned that.
Sure. But is Ilia Topuria there? Is that does he have that leverage?
Well, the UFC might be pissed that he's doing it.
Which is, once again,
so why would they? Maybe they're like, you got to go fight a contender first. Who knows? Who knows what's going on backstage?
Just like I said.
Because it's weird, right? The scenario is weird as is.
Yeah.
It sounds like there was a pissing contest going on. And Topuria's like, all right, well, I vacate. Because think about it. If it were him just going right into the Islam fight, they would want to be like this champion versus this champion. They wouldn't want to be like former vacated champion. Promotion.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I think part of it is that the cut was apparently becoming too hard on him to the point that he didn't feel like he could make the weight anymore there, so he felt he had to make a permanent move. I think the other bigger part was that the UFC really wanted him to fight Diego Lopez and or who's the other top
Evloev?
Yeah, Evloev or more importantly, I think was it somebody else? I thought there was somebody else that just made a huge rand. Oh, anyway, yeah, basically Lopez or Evloev, and he's just, he's just, those are fights he doesn't want. It's just like, I
You
don't want
sound
to
like
fight
Dana
those
White.
fights. I don't, no, not like, I mean, in the same way that, like,
They're not big money fights.
Merab Dvalishvili very clearly did not have any interest in fighting Umar Nurmagomedov. He was like, this is not a big fight for me. He took it because the UFC told him to take it, but like the moment they announced it, or when they tried to get it, like they're like, yeah, Umar Nurmagomedov, your challenge, what do you have to say to him? And he turned around, he's like, I need to talk to Dana White. He and I need to sit down and have a conversation about this. It's like,
sure.
And I think that Topuria was probably in some ways in the same place where
I just don't think he's going to go right to Makhachev. I don't think he would have vacated for that. It just doesn't make sense to me from a promotional standpoint. You would want it. You would want to pin it as champ versus champ.
Yeah, it just seems, if that's the case, then it just seems stupid from Topuria's standpoint to walk away from the only even close to guarantee you get out of the UFC.
But if you think you're the best in the world,
yeah, well, like I say, no, everybody else who's been the best in the world has not done that. So
I don't know. You go out and you sleep Volk and you sleep Max and you go sleep Poirier.
Look, I'm not saying that the opportunity isn't there. I'm just saying that, like, nobody else has taken this path, and there have been a lot of great fighters out there.
If he's fighting Islam, it would be a bigger fight if he fought Poirier first. Poirier has a massive fan base,
which is also why this feels stupid to drop your belt right now before you really even have an established name.
But it also makes sense though, because there's no other names at 45 for him. There are no other big names. He already slept both of them. There were two. He slept them both.
I am skeptical of the whole thing.
So you go out and you sleep a legend that's on his way out. You steal his fan base.
It's high risk, high reward for what should be, in his case, lower risk, high reward. Like, everything should be high reward, but he's taking the highest risk reward option.
Well, I don't know. We saw Arman lose his chance at the belt for something silly. So there's no telling what's going on backstage. But for me, I would much rather see Gaethje get a chance at Islam. I know his days are numbered. Let me see Gaethje go for another title shot. And I would love to see Topuria Poirier. It's fun to say, and it would be a fucking banger.
It would be a banger. I will just admit, though, that I've seen enough of Gaethje against the actual very, very best in the world to not really feel like. I mean, I know what's going to happen. I feel like I know exactly what's going to happen if he fights if he fights Islam Makhachev, rather. Like, Rafael Fiziev just took him down.
So
that's.
I want to see him fight for a title again. I'm a stan. I'm a big Gaethje stan.
I know. All right. Let's move on. Ignacio Bahamondes, Jalen Turner. Question of the day. Are MMA fighters forgetting jiu-jitsu and unlearning jiu-jitsu?
Not Bahamondes.
Not Bahamondes, but Jalen Turner. He was out of that triangle. And then he's like, "Oh wait, let me put this knee back over my shoulder, and just leave one arm out here and one arm in here. Okay, twist a little, like maybe if I extend my arm a little further into your guard." I was just so much like Andre Feely getting caught in that guillotine the other week, where it's just like, what are you doing? You walked yourself back into this submission.
He also helped Bahamondes cut that angle. Because like when you're looking to finish a triangle, I would say one of the biggest reasons that triangles aren't finished and don't go to completion is because people don't cut the angle. When you're going for a triangle, trying to finish, you have to get your body perpendicular to your opponent's body. You don't want to be straight on.
Yeah.
You have to cut that angle. So Jalen kind of
you got to tighten the neck into the shoulder, basically.
Yeah, it clamps it down. It's
Yeah.
so you're using your hamstrings to close the hold.
Yeah.
Your bigger muscles.
Yeah.
And so Jalen kind of helped him cut that angle, and Bahamondes grabbed the fucking leg.
Yeah.
So that even further cut the angle for him, and it prevented Turner from standing up.
Oh, yeah. No, I mean, it was great work from Bahamondes, but from Turner, it was just like, this was supposed to be a levels fight, and it looked like a levels fight right away, where you're saying, like, oh, Ignacio Bahamondes' best win of his career is Trey Ogden. Like, Jalen Turner can go out there and run him over, and he was. And then he's like, oh, they gave me a brown belt last week. It was actually supposed to be a blue belt here. Let me just,
I don't know what's going on with Turner.
Yeah, well, he retired after the loss.
Which even further kind of makes me wonder what's going on upstairs, because he's fucking nasty. He's so nasty. And I feel like his record could easily look different. Like, he lost a lot of close split decisions. Like that Gamrot. I think he beat Gamrot. I think that was a robbery. Or the Hooker fight was amazing. He almost won that fight. I think the judges got that one right, but that was fucking razor thin.
Yeah.
I just don't know why he didn't go bang it out with Bahamondes.
Yeah, I mean, they were talking a lot about how the Moicano fight really messed him up, and he needed a lot of time to get his confidence back and to feel like he could fight again after that. And after this loss, it seems like he probably just hit a snapping point, but it seems almost also like a guarantee that 8 months from now, he's going to be back fighting. Like, I'm sure he's sick of it, but he's 29. This isn't coming from a you shouldn't retire, Jalen Turner. He's been a lot of fun. God bless him. If he wants to go do something else, please, by all means, go do something else. This is a lifetime of trauma that you're signing yourself up for, with only minimal guarantees of any kind of payoff. So go forth and prosper, man. But I gotta think that he'll be right back at it inside the year.
I don't think he likes to fight.
Probably not.
I think he's good at it.
Yeah.
But I don't think he likes hurting people.
Or maybe not getting hurt too. It's really the big thing.
I don't think it's so much that. I think he doesn't like hurting people because he's always trying to walk away. Like the Moicano fight.
Yeah.
Like, he's like, oh, I did the damage. I'm done. I don't want to be in this fight anymore. It's over. It's done. So he inflicts this damage, and then he's like, oh, I won. Let's end it right here. He's not one of those guys like Hendo. He dropped you. He's coming to kill you. Like, he's going to fucking drop the H-bomb. He won't stop until someone pulls him off. And that's not Jalen Turner.
It's definitely not Turner. You rarely see fighters where that is the crux of why they stopped fighting actually stay gone.
And I think that Bobby Green fight might have had something to really put a cherry on the top of that. Because I don't think he felt good about what happened. That fight should have been stopped way sooner than it was. And he was just beating on a defenseless man. And I think it plagues his heart. Like, he doesn't want to hurt people like that.
Might be. You rarely ever see that be an actual reason that somebody steps away and stays away.
Mike Davis struggles with that.
He does, and he still hasn't stepped away.
But he's also only fighting, once a year.
Yeah, Turner will be back. I wish he wouldn't, but he will be. Guarantee it.
He's so good.
Yeah. Anyway, on the flip side, for Bahamondes, you're saying you want to see him in that Hooker fight, which
Hooker or Moicano, who's ever healthier, faster.
Yeah, because now that he beat Turner, he's got a potential spot in the rankings out of it. and
definite spot in the rankings.
yeah.
And honestly, those are the only two that really make sense to me.
Yeah, I mean, there's somebody like Benoit Saint-Denis, or
Isn't he booked?
not that I can see.
I thought he was booked.
No. He let's see. Oh yeah, no, you're right. They just haven't listed it yet. He's scheduled to fight Joel Alvarez. That's a great fight.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, Fiziev just lost. Pimblett fighting Chandler.
Grant Dawson's free, Eddie.
I don't give a fuck. I don't care.
Yeah, no.
Don't do that to him.
No.
Did
Booker
he call someone
Moicano.
out?
No, he just said, I'll fight whoever. I think.
Oh, okay.
Or if he did call somebody out, I've already forgotten it. Somebody in the chat can tell me if I've... Anyway, yeah, I'd be up for Hooker. I'd be up for Moicano when Moicano's ready to come back. Those would be fine.
You know what?
What?
Ridiculous Mauricio Ruffy called out Beneil Dariush, but fuck that. Let him fight Bahamondes.
Bahamondes Ruffy would also be a really good fight.
They need to fight now and then fight later down the line.
Yeah. I don't like booking guys off the same card, but that would be a truly good fight. Because I don't really, like I say, I don't really come out of this feeling like Bahamondes is automatically a top 15 guy right now. Like, this fight against Turner, it was not a good looking fight up until the moment he got that submission for him. And
it wasn't that bad. Like, he was doing good stuff from his back.
Yeah, but he also got like worked early to get put on his back. And like I said before that, your best win is Trey Ogden. Like, this was a huge jump. I'm not feeling like I like Bahamondes. He's a lot of fun, but the Ruffy fight, that does feel like a fight where it's like, okay, well, this would really put one of you in that conference, like in the conversation for real.
Yeah, I wouldn't pick Bahamondes to win that fight, but I like how well-rounded Bahamondes is. He's got submissions, nasty, slick submissions, and he's all volume. Like he throws a ton of volume. He's got volume. He's got a style of MMA.
He's got some subs. He's a lot of fun, no question.
I think he belongs in the rankings.
He's a borderline case for me. I need another fight out of it.
Which is fair. I think he took the right place.
Yeah, sure.
He took the right place.
All right. That brings us to the really bad fight of the card. Women's strawweight bout. Amanda Lemos, Yasmin Lucindo. We talked about going in. I get why this fight was booked. It's a good booking. It was a sensible booking. Lucindo's been running up the rankings. Lemos is a good, are you a top 5 fighter kind of test. And I get why it's on pay-per-view, because if you're going to get a new title contender going, you need them in a place where people watch them. You don't want the first time anybody sees a new contender fight to be the title fight, you know? That's just bad business. That said, man, Lucinda was just not ready for this. She has a lot of experience, and she's gutted out some good, tough wins in the UFC, but she is still running on almost pure athleticism. And this was kind of the check of like, no, you actually, there is a wall to that. There's a point where you can't just be the athlete.
Well, I mean, there's not many walls like that.
Yeah, the wall for that is, are you a title contender? And the answer is no, because the other fighters in the top 5 of that division can.
Yeah, but she's only 23.
Oh yeah, no. I'm not saying the future is not bright, I'm
This was
saying
a
this
good
was,
prospect loss for her, I think.
yeah, it's a good wake-up call, and it's a much-needed one. It just made for a really bad fight because
She didn't
she
get her
thought
ass beat. She just
she didn't
got
get her ass beat.
controlled.
She just very clearly was not ready for the kind of fight that she thought she was ready for.
Yeah.
You
It's a
know?
good wake-up call.
Yeah. So.
But for Limoges, I think because of this, I love her style, but I didn't like this.
Yeah.
She's got to fight Tatiana Suarez.
Sure.
That's the fight to make.
Yeah, that's a great fight to do. Put her in with Suarez. It's quality bounce back for Suarez, which she needs. Lemos is, she's 37.
Lemos is in rematch city.
Yeah.
So we can avoid that by putting her in there with Suarez. Winning puts either one of them back in contention.
She already beat Mackenzie Dern, who's the only other fighter ranked anywhere near her coming off a win right now. And otherwise you're basically just gonna have to throw somebody actually there's not really any other sensible fight for her.
Everyone's booked up pretty much.
Yeah.
You're coming off a loss.
Lemos Suarez is the only fight that makes any sense.
Well, Suarez is coming off a loss, but
I mean, I think she's already fought Amanda Hebush. Pretty sure. Oh no, maybe she hasn't.
Is Hebush
the other
booked?
Option. No, not at the moment.
Isn't she coming off like 2 losses or something?
Yeah, she's coming off of 2 losses to Dern and Nama Yunus. So not bad losses, but like I say, there's not any really other sensible fight for Lemos other than Tatiana Suarez right now.
Yeah. And honestly, I think it's kind of an interesting matchup. Suarez can wrestle her fucking ass off. We've seen Limoges struggle with technical grapplers, but we've also seen Suarez struggle with people who can crack. So.
Yeah, we've seen people should have gotten enough wake-up call out of Suarez's title fight to say, oh, if I can shut down her wrestling, she can't do anything else.
Yeah. I say people, I meant person.
Yeah. Anyway, let's move on. Mauricio Ruffy.
Ridiculous Mauricio Ruffy. I'm changing his name.
Earl Green, I think. He's been demoted, uncrowned. He's been
the Duke.
Duke Green.
Dookie Green.
Earl Green, I'm sorry. That is not a king making performance from. I mean, this is. Man, I hate to see this. I've been a fan of Bobby Green for any MMA old head at this point has been a fan of Bobby Green for a while. He's a lot of fun. He's always down to scrap, a technical, fun fighter. But he's been kind of losing a little bit of a step lately. He's also been fighting a little more flat-footed, trying to be a bigger hitter, trying to be more of a contender fighter.
He's been losing badly.
And when he's been losing because of that, because he's been a little more flat-footed, he's been getting hit a lot cleaner. And so the losses are starting to feel a lot worse, and he's just getting older too. And this fight was a fight where it looked like he stepped out. And I mean, you got to say now, it's kind of 2 in a row. These last 2 fights, Green has looked like he stepped out there and then realized, I don't want to be here.
3 of his last 4.
Yeah.
That Jalen Turner fight was hard to watch.
Because Ruffy, way before that knockout landed, Ruffy had him just feeling all kinds of ways about this.
In the fight, he was like, all right, now you pissed me off. And Ruffy's like, and bink.
Yeah. It's just Green looked confused. He looked
green out there.
Yeah.
Which is crazy because he's such a veteran.
Yeah.
But Ruffy is something special.
Nathan Harper is saying, but didn't he look good against Jim Miller? He did. Against another old man, Green still has something to show up with,
Yeah.
Like there's still a talent level for him, but against younger, faster guys, he has been frozen.
Yeah.
Absolutely frozen. And it's not even like an old man competitive, like, you know, Tony Ferguson has been bad, but Tony Ferguson still goes out there and he's like, oh, yeah, okay, I'm going to compete. I'm going to put it on you. And then he has to get hit a few times. He's like, okay, actually, I'm going to step back and try not to get brutally knocked out because I don't want to be humiliated. Green, he's getting out there against Pimblett and against, Ruffy, and he's just like, I don't know, bad. Because, like, he was just trapped on the fence when Ruffy threw that wheel kick, and it wasn't like he set anything up or, like, had some special thing.
Yeah, he did set it up. What are you talking about?
Well, I mean,
he threw that hook, like overextended on the hook to wind himself up.
Yeah, okay.
You're sleeping on the magic, bro.
It was a great shot.
That was beautifully and masterfully set up, making him pay attention to this hook. Oh, I'm missing. Psych, wheel kick. That was fucking nasty.
It's just, Green has always been a pretty slick defensive fighter, and he was there to be confused, it felt like.
Well, you also got to credit Ruffy on this. He's that good.
He is a power hitter with real speed and real craft, and that Fighting Nerds team, like, I don't know what, like, X-Man baby farm they raided to get all these guys at the same time, but they just have like 8 guys on that team where you're just like,
it's the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen.
Yeah.
No, I mean, I'm high on that whole team. Prates, John Silva, Ruffy.
Yeah.
I mean, even Caio Bahalio.
He is turning it around. I hate to admit it, but he's turning it around.
That whole squad is just it's like they're the new Shudo box.
Mm-hmm.
They're savages.
They really are. So, yeah, great win for him. A fight with Bahamondes would be a lot of fun. I mean, he's just in one of those places now too where, the UFC can really do anything with him. Like, there's not a fight that you're going to put Ruffy in that people aren't going to want to see.
You got to put him right in the rankings.
And the nice thing with being a really violent fighter the way he is too is you would think like, oh, people are going to be afraid of him. But the reality is that a lot more fighters at the UFC level are going to be like, oh, I want to fight that dude. That's a cool fight for me to take. Grant Dawson's the dude out there who's going to have trouble finding his next fight.
I wouldn't be surprised if they just replaced Dawson altogether in the rankings and put Ruffy in there.
I wouldn't be that shocked either. Honestly.
I'd do it. For real.
Yeah, no, I know.
Bobby Green starched Grant Dawson.
He did.
Ruffy, the way Bobby Green fell, he face planted and slid on his face. Slid. That's cold. That is a cold knockout of the year candidate for sure.
Yep.
I don't think many will top this. Not many are going to top this.
No question. But yeah,
when he first threw it, I didn't even saw that it landed. I was like, I had to watch the replay to be like, oh shit, that connected like right here.
Yeah, it skipped off Green's shoulder. Actually, like Green, he shoulder rolled it, and DC's up there like, oh, he didn't have his hands up, and that's all the problem for. That's not the problem for Green. It's that he's getting all of his defensive reactions. A lot of them were slick and based on his speed and timing. Right. You get old and
that diminishes
rapidly. Like he had his defense right there to catch it, and it just skipped off that and into his head.
Man, that was beautiful.
Yeah.
Well worth the price of admission that I didn't pay.
But yeah, no, I mean, you get him in there with Bahamondes would be fun. You could do
Dan Hooker,
Ferris Ziam even, or like
he called for Dariush.
He called for Dariush, which is
I
just
feel
cruel.
I know. I love me some Dariush, but I don't want to. He's all gray now too. Like I don't want to see that.
Dariush, go get on a mission to convert some more heathens, because God doesn't love you enough if you get booked for that fight.
No.
You are not right with the Lord if you find yourself in the octagon with Mauricio Ruffy.
Yeah, that's man.
All right.
This guy's one to watch, though. I wouldn't be surprised if he makes it to the belt.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, he's like the least structured of all the MMA nerds, but he is a killer.
He's the most crafty of all of them. He's the most fluid of all of them.
Yeah.
He's the one that has the most specialness to them, in my personal opinion.
I'm a Gene Silva guy when it comes
No,
to that.
me too. But there's this Conor McGregor factor that Ruffy has.
No, that's just because he's got the beard and the chest tat.
It has nothing to do with that. It has everything to do with the way he moves in space. His movement is phenomenal.
Yeah, I'm not as sold, but I'm
Silva's
willing.
a dog. I love Silva. I'm high on him too. He's gonna cook Bryce Mitchell. He's probably on his way to a belt as well. But man, Ruffy is fucking special.
All right, I will hold you to that, and I will eat my own words if you end up being right.
When I end up being right.
If you end up being right.
I know these things.
All right. Let's get down into the prelims. Joshua Van, Ray Tsuruya, and this was much like the Lemos-Lucindo fight. This was a soft prospect learning lesson for Tsuruya, where it's just like you being a scrambling wrestler at flyweight. That's so hard.
It's the worst base for flyweight.
It's the worst base for flyweight.
Hard. This is a hard. And Van's that dude.
Van is that dude. Van is very good. And really, Tsuruya is very lucky he did not end up getting more badly hurt out of this fight.
He ate a flush head kick and just ate it. And I was like, wow, this guy's got a chin on him.
And honestly, I love the variety and creativity of Tsuruya's scrambling game.
That arm throw he did.
Yeah.
Takedown of the year.
He hit a couple of spots like that where it's like there is still clearly a lot of talent to work with here, and he can still be something special, but he needs to find a functional striking game that he can depend on.
Yeah, he's just in the wrong division.
That too.
It's not the division for it. But this fight sucked. We should go ahead and mention that Robbie Lawler is getting into the Hall of Fame.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's the real good news.
Yeah.
Screw Ankalaev Pereira. The real good news is I'm here to preach the good book of Robbie Lawler. I do not think shit about the UFC Hall of Fame. I think it is basically an Employee of the Month club. And it means nothing in a historic, important aspect of cataloging the history of this sport.
Oh, you're so cynical.
But any props, any little bit of accolade, anything the UFC can throw Robbie Lawler's way, he deserves.
Oh, yeah.
You know?
He's one of the greatest, one of my all-time favorites. And my girlfriend was watching the fights with me, and I was like, oh, look, Robbie Lawler's getting to the Hall of Fame. I was like, do you remember? She doesn't really watch the fights, but I was do you remember when he retired? And she was like, yeah, you cried. And I was like, no, I didn't.
Yes, you did. Yes, you did.
I had something in my eye. It was a coincidence. No, but it was great to see him get his flowers. He went out on a win. You know, he's he had one of the longest careers of anybody. Just the body of work he did in multiple organizations.
Which is insane for the way he fought.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense. I mean,
this is a man who went to war. This is a guy who started when he was like 17, 18 as a pro.
Yeah.
And an absolute kill or be killed warrior. And for him to have a 20-year career, like, that is crazy. I mean, this guy debuted in 2001 and retired in 2023.
Yeah.
Like,
he should have a pension. You know what I mean?
yeah, he should. I mean, it is the amount of craft that he built into his game over the years and the smart, a lot of the smart moves he did behind the scenes, famously when he was in Strike Force, just stopped sparring. And just like all the technical advancement he did in his boxing game over his career and all. I mean, it's incredible,
No, he played to his strengths, and I think you got to credit the Militich fighting systems. Like they really imprinted themselves on him, and were big on being complete and big on, for being as wild as he was still defensively responsible. Like it's really, he's an anomaly. You see guys nowadays that come out and they might be a knockout artist, but they don't have any kind of real defense. They kind of rely on their chin too much.
Mm-hmm.
That was never his thing. Like he ate some shots or whatever, but he always had the defense to go along. Like Mike Tyson. Like people usually associate Mike Tyson with just being a ferocious offensive juggernaut, and he was, but his defense was also up there. Like the way he was slipping and moving, that peekaboo style, like he doesn't get enough credit. I don't think Robbie gets enough credit for his defense either.
Well, and Robbie was too. He was one of those fighters that would, very famous. Like, I don't think any fighter, to me, what made him really special, and I don't think practically no other fighter is as good at this as he was, is that he would absolutely be able to watch from fighting somebody and being in the fight. He would be able to target exactly what the weak point in somebody's game was, so that you could have, he would often, like that fight with, I think, I want to say it was the Donald Cerrone fight he had. But he did this several times throughout his career. And like he went out and he stormed Cerrone early in that fight. And then a whole second round, he basically just took his foot off the gas and let Donald Cerrone have the round. And this is in a 3-round fight. Like, he just gave the second round away. And then he came out in round 3 and he had a read on every single combination that Donald Cerrone wanted to throw. All of it. And to just be able to be like, oh, I can just give rounds away in a fight because I know I can get and figure out all of the mistakes that you're making. Like, so few fighters are actually that good at synthesizing information mid-fight as he was in his prime. Just insanely good.
A marvel, an absolute marvel.
Yeah. We got somebody, AJ, asking favorite Robbie fight outside of the Condit and Rory fights.
Oh man,
I'm only asking you for some reason. I don't know why. I don't get anything out of this.
Because Robbie's my dude.
Your dude.
Yeah, that's my dude.
I'm gonna fight you for him.
Don't fight me, Zane. I'm soft. I would have to say I like the Scott Smith fight a lot.
Yeah.
Sleeping Melvin Manhoff was great.
Manhoff is the fight for me. Because that's also one of those synthesis fights where he is getting blasted by Manhoff the whole time. It's just like, okay, well, this may hurt me a lot, but I've got every read, and he just killed him. It's just like, okay, can step in right now. Done.
The number one for me is the Tiki fight, though. That was the fight that scared the shit out of me. Like, he knocks him cold and like goes for the follow-up punches, and one of them missed and hit the canvas, and it was so fucking loud. I'm just like, oh, I'm so glad he missed, because that dude would have died. And then Tiki had the goal to get up and be like, I wasn't knocked out. So that for me, that was a big highlight.
Yeah. No, they're all great. There's not the only bad Robbie Lawler fight is the Tyron Woodley fight because he made Robbie look old.
Sure.
And the Colby Covington fight and the Neil Magny fights, because God, nobody ever need to see those things.
I even liked his loss to Nick Diaz.
Sure, no, the Nick Diaz fight was great. Like
the first one.
Losses for Lawler. I mean, even the Ben Askren fight was cool as hell.
Yeah,
I don't care.
He suplexed his ass, and then the fucking erroneous referee.
Yeah.
Yeah,
people claiming the RDA fight is bad too. No, I actually like RDA, so I'm okay with that. Rather, but
his Chris Lytle fight was great.
Yeah, the only fights I didn't like were the Tyron Woodley fight, the Colby Covington fight, and the Neil Magny fights. Those were the ones where I'm just like, I can't watch this. This is too.
Yeah.
This just sucks.
Man, he's one of those guys I've interviewed him a couple times, and he is the exact same person you see on TV. You know, like we finish the interview and we sit there and just talk shop and just go off on these crazy tangents. And he's the same guy you see up on the mic, the same, I don't want to call him a sweetheart, but he's just a good dude. Like he is just a real human.
Nobody has a bad story about Robbie Lawler. Never heard
one. It's insane. And now he's coaching, which is good to see.
So love to hear it. All right. Joshua Van, is there a flyweight fight for him?
Whatever.
We move on?
I'll show up for it.
Yeah, same. I'll show up for pretty much any Joshua Van fight, flyweight. Let me see. I mean, you could book him against Ramzan Temirov.
Sure. Oh, really, this was the first fight in UFC history between two guys born in the 2000s.
Yeah.
So we can go ahead and start feeling extra old right now.
Yeah. Actually, I want to see Josh Van fight Tim Elliott. That'd be fun.
That's scrappy.
Anyway, somebody asked me about my boy Bruno Silva. And but I would feel so conflicted. I love Bruno Silva. And that fight would be so goddamn violent. I don't know that I want to see both of them lose that many brain cells for that.
Let him fight. Has he fought Charles Johnson?
No, but Johnson's coming off a loss. But you could fight Johnson. That'd be a lot of fun.
Is he?
Wait, he did fight Johnson. Johnson knocked him out brutally. But yeah, Johnson just lost to Temirov.
Yeah, he uppercutted his ass. That's right.
And then Johnson just
True.
Temirov, so.
See, here's the problem with Johnson. He does so well at the end of the fights that I forget he lost.
Yeah, I know. All right. Bruno Pereira, Armen Petrosyan, and
Shaw.
Yeah. Not only did Bruno Ferreira do win by submission, which is utterly shocking, he used judo twice. And I didn't think fighters were allowed to use judo in MMA. Everything I have seen of judokas that aren't named Ronda Rousey has suggested that judo just doesn't work.
Or Yoshida in a gi.
Yeah. But he hit a nifty little trip on Petrosyan in this fight that I really liked. And then he was right there with the arm bar. He's the reincarnation of Hector Lombard.
I don't think I've ever seen Hector Lombard hit a triangle. But
early in his career, Lombard used to hit some judo guard submissions before he became all knockouts.
Man. This wasn't just a submission. This was a slick submission. Like he took the back, and as Petrosyan was spinning around on top, he caught him in the triangle and got the arm. I never in a million years would I have predicted that to be the outcome. Like he comes out and just sleeps Petrosyan with some crazy monstrous hook. I expect something like that. But this is probably the most shocking thing on the card.
I picked Petrosyan to win by decision, And I knew that I knew that that was a terrible idea the moment Gianni came out and made that his pick of the night.
Oh, Yanni the Greek?
Yeah, Yanni
Oh,
the
yeah.
Greek. I was like, oh, God.
I picked
Terrible.
Petrosian too,
Yep.
just because he's the better striker, cleaner striker.
I mean, I thought he was better at everything.
Well, he's the best at almost winning.
He's
He's
the
so
best.
good at it. He
Yeah.
almost wins a lot.
He's the best at being mistaken for world-class kickboxer Armin Petrosian.
Yeah. Well, he was a good enough of a kickboxer to where he got he got the Hulk shooting takedowns and catching submissions. That's pretty good.
Yeah.
And we gotta salute the referee, by the way, for taking
Mhm.
that point away for the ball shots.
That was good.
There should have been more of that. And we didn't get a single eye poke tonight.
No.
Not one.
Shocking.
Bunch of ball shots, but no eye pokes.
We do have Aiden Rosman asking, saying, Eddie, please explain to me why John Ack is confusing Petrosian with the kickboxer one and talking about Bruno Ferreira beating a world-class kickboxer. Look, for at least 2 years, when Armin Petrosian first got to the UFC, the kickboxing Petrosian is the only one with a wiki page. And they're almost the same age, I think. And they're like the same height. So Anik just went to the wrong wiki page over and over again and read about the wrong guy and would talk about him like, oh my God, we've got world-class kickboxer Armin Petrosian here in the UFC. And at some point he figured that out. And he knows it's not the same guy anymore, but every now and then he just brings it up again. Like, I don't know. It's just...
Hey, we're all human.
Yeah.
There's how many fighters on the roster? I mean, that's a lot of homework to do on a lot of fighters. So, and it's not like Petrosian's making waves to where there's anything else to say.
No.
So he's grasping at straws.
Yeah.
I'm going to cut him some slack.
I'll cut him a little slack.
But... Joe Rogan called Lucendo a young man tonight. Did you see that?
Yes.
Shit happens. They're live.
All right. Let's move on. Welterweight bout, Carlos Leal, Alex Morono, much like Mauricio Hufi, Bobby Green, or King Green. I had nothing but bad vibes about this because I like Alex Morono. I want to root for him. He is absolutely the most... I got off my couch one day and decided I wanted to be a UFC fighter looking guy out there. And man, I think that dream might be at its end because you can't be fighting dudes like Carlos Leal, Alex.
No. I like Morono. He's like a regular dude, like you're saying. Yeah. And he's got balls.
Oh yeah. Like, he always has a really good game plan. He always comes out knowing, like, okay, this is what I got to do to have a chance at winning. I'm going to work on this really hard. I'm going to go for this, do this thing. And then it's just like, yeah, but you're half the athlete.
Yeah, he was doing great work. The way he was going off center, throwing his punches, firing back. He was landing really, really solid quality shots, but Leal just walked right through him. He walked right through him, started ripping the body, going to the head. The toughness of Morono, I have to give him props for that.
Yeah.
Because he didn't go down. This was a standing TKO. He took his ass beating on the feet. But yeah, he was just so outgunned, out-muscled, out-everything.
Yeah. What a good pickup for the UFC, though. Carlos Leal being one of those dudes who was just clearly a very talented fighter outside of the UFC for years and years, and then they picked him up right as he's really peaking and fighting to the best of his ability. And they've got a guy who can go on a run. I don't know if he's ever going to be any kind of contender, but he can certainly, fight his way up into the edges of the top 15 right now.
He's a diesel. This dude is diesel. Yeah, I mean, there's some good fights out there for him. He's going to be in some exciting fights. Like, throw him in there with Gabriel Bonfim.
Mm-hmm.
That would be wicked.
Awesome. Love to see that. Love to see him against
Jake Matthews.
Sure, yeah.
He was
That'd
looking
be
sharp
great.
his last time out.
Or let's see, Basel Hafez. Two
bricked up dudes, sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Really just, you know.
That Bonfim fight, though, is the one that really
Yeah,
gets
that
me going.
Bonfim fight, that would be awesome. Or even like Li Jingliang or,
Yeah.
you know, Muslim Salikov.
Yeah. That'd be wicked.
Hell, even Max Griffin, you know? Like,
that'd be a war. Yeah.
there's a lot of great fights for him right now. He's just... He got to the UFC at just the right time to put on a bunch of entertaining fights.
A lot of people say he beat Fakhratinov.
I thought he did.
Yeah, so, I mean, if you're already making it debatable with him, and Fakhratynov's he's pretty solid. You know, I think he should go up there with the Bonfims, Jake Matthews.
He should be knocking on the door of the top 15 right now. He might not be able to get past that, but he deserves to be right in that.
He won't go away without a fight.
Yeah. All right. Somebody also asking about the Joe Rogan and his Thai Steel Cup rants again, but I mean that's 20 years. As long as Joe Rogan has been commentating on MMA, he has had some sort of fixation on steel cups. I don't know how it got started or what happened. Somebody sent him a video at some point in 1998, and he's never been able to get it out of his head. And first it was, every fighter should use a steel cup. That's an obvious advantage. And then they was like, no, but Diamond MMA, they make great cups that are like steel cups, but they're plastic. Everybody should use those. And then it morphed to steel cups are dangerous, actually, and anybody who uses one is basically cheating. And now he just talks to DC all the time about whether or not DC wore a steel cup. And every single time DC has to be like, yes, I did, Joe. And Joe's like, oh, really? Like, you guys have this conversation every month.
The Diamond Cup is nice. That's what I rock.
Sure.
It fits in the little neoprene shorts. It's solid. But yeah, I mean, you know, he's old school. He's getting older. He can't remember. He'll tell stories over and over. We all know people like that.
Yeah.
What else do you say when people are recovering from a ball shot? You know what I mean? You can only say so many things.
That brings us to an actual robbery.
Yeah. A good old-fashioned stick-up.
Just a good old-fashioned stick-up. Myron Santos, Francis Marshall. I watched this fight and I thought, man, this is a terrible fight from Myron Santos. As a long-term prospect, as a prospect, this is actually a really bad fight for a prospect to have. Because Francis Marshall didn't go out there and press him, didn't overwhelm him, fought the fight at his range, gave Santos all the opportunities to be in this fight, and Santos just kind of drifted along and never got anything going.
To me, it looked like Santos was trying to be too clever out there.
Yeah.
He spent a lot of time trying to set things up, and in the midst of all that, he would just get popped.
Yeah.
He's like, oh, I'm going to do the look down and go up high with it. And Marshall's like, nope, bink.
Yep. Marshall just got a really good, composed,
nuts and bolts
fight. Yep.
Nuts and bolts. And that's all it took. You know, you can't always be the most clever one out there.
Yeah.
I had a jiu-jitsu coach that used to say, if you're having to be clever, you're in a bad spot. If you have to be clever, you're losing. You be clever when you need to figure your way out of something. Otherwise, you need to be sticking to the basics, the fundamentals. That's what wins. When you're in sketchy situations, then you can start trying to craft your way out of them. So I think Santos kind of outsmarted himself here, and I think the speed of the fight kind of surprised him.
Yeah, which is a bad thing because, like I say, Marshall wasn't pouring it on. This wasn't the Jordan Santos fight where he came out throwing 100 strikes around and Ozzy Diaz had to adjust. This was a pretty composed, reserved fight from Francis Marshall. And Santos just didn't meet it. But he's probably not going to learn a damn thing from it because he got a win out of this. I gave Marshall every round, and this felt like it wasn't like, oh, these rounds are explosive and dynamic and Marshall crushed him. It was just one of those like, okay, easy judging. Marshall does more every round. There's not enough damage going either way for me to say like, oh, the damage should be the determining factor. I know Marshall got like a bloody nose at some point and stuff, but nothing that Santos did ever changed the way Marshall felt he needed to fight or clearly hurt him. And that, like, blood and bruising, that is tertiary damage criteria. The things you should be looking for with damage as a judge is, did this guy start moving funny after he got hit? Did his legs go out from under him? Did he start to wobble and rock? Like, that's...
Well, you explode someone's nose, you know what I mean? You do
if you explode someone's nose...
That's not what happened. I'm not saying that happened here.
Yeah. Sure.
Like what Drickus did to Sean Strickland?
Yes.
He exploded his nose.
He exploded. If you beat somebody's eye to the point that it swells shut...
Yeah.
Sure.
Hematomas...
Yeah, there are some places to go with that. But the primary damage criteria should be like, is somebody rocked? Is somebody... almost unconscious?
Yeah.
That's your principal damage. Yeah.
Are they limping?
Yeah. And
things
then
like that.
You have your exploded noses. You've got your huge hematomas. And then you've got, did the damage somebody was doing change the way somebody had to fight? So like, oh, you got kicked in the leg a bunch. Now you're having to switch stance.
Yeah.
Now you're having to protect your arm because it got kicked so much, or your ribs because they got kicked so much, and you're changing the way you're fighting.
Mm-hmm.
The point that it's a bloody nose or a cut over an eye or a bruise on a thigh or something like that, that is the bottom of the barrel damage criteria. You should basically only, like, that's barely criteria.
It depends on the cut.
Level. It depends, but it's surface, like, it has, if it's something huge, but if it's just a little, like, a cut with a little blood. Like
Fiziev's toe.
Yeah, exactly. Like, this is not the damage that should be getting considered. That is surface level cosmetic damage.
Right.
And that is not what you should be considering in Santos Marshall. If Marshall's nose bleeds easier than Santos's, doesn't mean Santos did more damage. By all account, watching the fight, they did the same amount of damage, and Marshall worked harder and did more.
They did not do the same amount of damage. Marshall dropped them in the first.
Yeah, I mean,
Marshall did more damage.
Marshall did more damage even because he dropped him in the first.
Yeah. Even in the second round, I felt like Marshall was landing the harder shots.
Yeah, I thought
third round could go either way.
Sure, but
But 1 and 2, clear rounds in my opinion for Marshall.
So this to me, I don't call most fights a robbery, most bad scores even a robbery. This is
the main event tonight was not a robbery.
Yeah,
that was a close fight that could have gone either way.
Yeah,
this criminal.
This is bad judging. All right, finally, Ozzy Diaz beat Jordan Ribeiro dos Santos. This was
bad judging too, in my opinion.
This is kind of bad judging. This is closer to either way. This isn't a robbery to me.
Not as egregious, but I still think this is a robbery.
It would be if it were a fight that, like, where I thought either guy even should be fighting at this level. Like, to me, this is just such a non
regional.
It's extremely regional. So, like, I get it, but I can't even care.
It was fun in a sloppy way, though.
Yeah. No, I mean, they did a lot of work. So.
And I picked Diaz, so I'm,
Me too.
I can't be too mad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
I really feel like Santos just did more across the first two and then just kind of shit the bed in the third.
Yeah, no,
Diaz went
he very clearly did more, even, but, like, it just, whatever. I don't even care. All right. On that note, think we're actually going to skip the bonus tonight. I'm kind of flagging. So
fair enough. Well, I'll go ahead and just rate the whole card.
Yeah.
I'm going to give it a technical 0.
Oh,
it's a 0 because I couldn't get the pay-per-view.
There you go.
If I can't get the pay-per-view and I got to go do something that definitely didn't include illegally streaming it, technical 0.
I'll give it a 3. It was an okay night of fights with a far too high a price tag attached to it.
Yeah, definitely expensive, but that Ruffy knockout was dope. The Gaethje fight was fun. Bahamondes catching the sub was cool. Ankalaev Pereira was high level.
Yeah.
Technical 0.
All right. On that note, you can find me on Twitter at Zane Simon, on Blue Sky and Substack at Zane Simon. You can find Eddie at the Eddie Mercado on any and all platforms: Instagram, Blue Sky, Twitter, all that good stuff. Thanks everyone for tuning in, and we will see you next time.